to tell us which way are we going to go year in, year out. It's always just apply. It's like it's a bet. You can win, you can lose, and we move on. However, whatever has been proposed, we must also think of it the other way around. Do we have the money to support that? Or can we start with it now as we grow? My idea would be, let's start looking at ways of finding what works for us. Let us not just be blind because we have NSFAF there, that is what we can deal with. There are many countries where we can copy ideas from, where these things have worked. So honestly, NSFAF really need to rethink their ways of funding and rewarding those students who are really, one, suffering, two, those who are really doing well and cannot also support themselves. So in education in general, we know, like even as at now at NAS, we've got very high number of students and infrastructure issues that needs to be looked into. We need bigger spaces for examination, for assessments, for classes. We need more technology into education, institutions of higher education, as well as even primary education. However, if I looked at the budget, when you look at the social sector, we saw that Ministry of Education and Culture is one of the ministries that got the higher chunk. But if you look at higher education, they are the ones who are down on the other side. So that now brings the question of, okay, are we improving the structures of the Ministry of Arts and Culture to be able to get more pass rates into institutions of higher learning? Then we can't fund them. What do we do? So these things need to be remodeled. However, like I said before, there are countries where we can copy from. What needs to be done is proper benchmarking. Let's see what is working, let's revise our model, and let's support the younger generation.
Thank you. Apart from those expectations relating to particularly higher education, what are your other expectations of today's State of the Nation address?
Of course, as usual, State of the Nation address is the point whereby we get report back from the government on what we have done so far and where we're going forward. So I expect a very comprehensive outlook, a very comprehensive, what should I call it? A very comprehensive explanation of what we have done so far and what we want to do going forward. So I expect some key indicators where the government will be telling us, these are the areas we are going to concentrate on, and these are the reasons why, and these are the modalities of how we are going to do it. So that's what I expect. Of course, we've got the new sectors like explained by Madam Nangolo. Should we see much about green hydrogen? We just don't want to hear about it. We want to hear, how are we going to get the skills? How are we going to prepare the Namibian child to be able to tap from what is coming to us?
Thank you.
Very clear indicators should be one of the issues I expect to come out in today's SONA.
Thank you. Madam Andreas, we understand that President Bumba has arrived at Parliament and will start with the State of the Nation address shortly. Just your final thoughts at this juncture before we touch base with you perhaps a bit later.
I think at this point in time, I think the one thing that I also anticipate or expect is clarity on just how Namibians are going to benefit from our natural resources. The oil and gas space is buzzing. So maybe a little bit more of clarity on like local content focus, how we can apply ourselves as young people in that space, and what are some of the government incentives to make sure that young people are going to be able to participate in that space. Yep.
Thank you so much. Ms. Odada, at this juncture, your final thoughts. We certainly can't predict what the President will say, but your final thoughts at this juncture before we wrap up later.
Like I said before, I'm hoping to see a framework of where we're going to from today, based on what the President will be able to say today.
You have the final word, Madam Nangolo, at this particular juncture.
I think similar to what I've said before, I'm very excited to hear what the President has to say, especially when it comes to education, the state of education in the country, when it comes to young people, when it comes to preparing the Namibian House to partake in its rising industries. So I think let's hear what the President has to say, and then we can...
Are young people ready to hear what he has to say, but also, more importantly, ready to embrace what is available and go for those opportunities? Is that your conviction?
Definitely.
Well, we'll cross over to Parliament now, where President Nangolo Mbumba, Namibia's fourth president, will deliver his maiden State of the Nation address following the passing away of President Hage Geingob on Sunday, the 4th of February 2024. We'll be back later for an analysis after the President has delivered the SONA.
There is none. Apart from the excellencies High Commissioner and diplomat. You are feeling welcome. Honorable members, as is customary, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Namibia, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, is going to address Parliament on the future of policy of the government. Traditional, we abbreviate it.
This is NBC One. It's ours.
VVIP's people who are here, I was told our Vice President of the country is here, but I don't see her here. That said, allow me to go and invite His Excellency, accompanied by the Speaker and the Chairperson of the National Council, to the chamber. In the meantime, please remain standing until the President's procession has entered the chamber. I beg to move.
you. I'm just waiting for the media people to do their job, and then I'll proceed. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, President of the Republic of Namibia, Madam Siski Mbumba, our First Lady, Your Excellency, Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, Vice President, the Honorable Lucas Sinimbo Muha, Chairperson of the National Council, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Sarah Kukangelo Amadila, the Honorable McHenry Venani, Leader of the Opposition. What happened? And of course, other leaders of our various political parties that are represented in Parliament, honorable members of Parliament, fellow citizens, and of course our guests who are here with us to witness this important national event. I welcome you all to this joint sitting of Parliament. Before we go into the business set aside for today, I'm happy to announce that on the 6th of March, 2024, we have reached a milestone in our history. And that is the National Assembly, one of the houses of our Parliament, have reached 50-50 gender representation in Parliament. Thank you to all of you. I congratulate all the political parties in the House. I congratulate all of you for that achievement in our lifetime. We hope and pray and keep our fingers crossed that we will maintain that achievement. In other words, next Parliament hopefully might even do better, but it is up to you, the citizens of the Republic of Namibia. In accordance with Article 32, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, the President is required during the consideration of the appropriation bill to attend Parliament. During such a session, the President shall address the Parliament on the state of the nation, on future policies of the government, and report on policies of the year under review. It is also on such occasion that the head of state will be available to respond to specific questions from members of Parliament. Your Excellency, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, let me take this opportunity to welcome you back to Parliament, and particularly to this joint sitting of our Parliament as you deliver your maiden statement as the fourth President of our Republic. Honorable members, it is now my distinct honor and privilege to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Namibia, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, to address this joint session of Parliament on the state of the nation. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Let us please take our seat. Honorable Professor Peter Katavi, Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Lucas Sinimbo Muha, Chairperson of the National Council, Right Honorable Sarah Kugomerwa Anavira, Prime Minister and Leader of the Government Business in Parliament, Honorable Sophia Shaningwa, Secretary General of the Swapo Party, Honorable McHenry Benani, Leader of the Official Opposition, leaders of political parties represented in Parliament, Honorable Members of Parliament,
the light is on here, I don't know.
You can't hear me? The newcomer must always be treated that way. Honorable Professor Peter Katavi, Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Lucas Sinimbo Muha, Chairperson of the National Council, Right Honorable Sarah Kugomerwa Anavira, Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business in Parliament, Honorable Sophia Shaningwa, Secretary General of the Swapo Party, Honorable McHenry Benani, Leader of the Official Opposition, leaders of other political parties represented in Parliament, Honorable Members of Parliament, and I have also to mention some of us are classified as guests here. Comrade Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, Vice President of the Republic of Namibia, Madam Seski Mbumba, they wrote here First Lady of the Republic of Namibia, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the media, good afternoon. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson, fellow Namibians, I am standing before you today to deliver this State of the Nation address in this most unusual of years. Just over 2 weeks ago, I undertook one of the most agonizing tasks when I had to pay tribute and bid farewell to my dear comrade and brother, the third President of Namibia, His Excellency Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob, who sadly left us on the 4th of February 2024. President Geingob's burial on the 25th of February 2024 concluded a harrowing stretch of days in which we experienced myriads of emotions. At the same time, while dealing with the passing of our president, I was also overcome by a sense of responsibility. Although my swearing in as the President of the Republic of Namibia came against a backdrop of pain and grief, I was aware that the Namibian nation needed to move forward, and someone would have to lead that way forward. In remembrance and honor of our departed third President of the Republic of Namibia, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, may I call upon the Honorable House to rise and observe a final minute of silence in his honor. Thank you very much. Let us take our seat. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson, His Excellency Dr. Hage G. Geingob will be remembered for, among other things, providing astute leadership at a time when our country needed it most. Under his leadership, the principle of accountability and transparency were entrenched into our governance architecture. Similarly, women and young people were appointed to senior leadership positions. Due to his efforts, Namibia has achieved the highest female representation in parliament. My figures are still of the Old Testament. They say here 47%, but the speaker said 50%. Congratulate yourself. Under difficult economic conditions, President Geingob stretched social safety nets. He prioritized investment promotion on new sectors to propel our country towards Vision 2030. As a consequence, the new frontiers of green hydrogen, green industrialization, as well as oil and gas further set the country firmly on the path of accelerated economic growth and shared prosperity. President Geingob worked hard to maintain peace, stability, and unity, without which development cannot take place. Fellow Namibians, during his inaugural statement of the nation address in 2015, President Geingob emphasized the strength of Namibia's democratic architecture and the stability of the Namibian House. He stretched an analogy between Jesus' parable of the wise and foolish builders in Matthew 7 verse 24 to 27, and the construction of the Namibian House. He concluded by stating, and I quote, "In Namibia, we are not foolish. Wise leaders have built the Namibian House on solid rock," end of quote. Owing to a robust governance architecture, we were able to prevail through a challenging transition after the passing of President Geingob, due in part to those of you seated here today as members of Parliament, who have continued building on the solid foundation established by the founders of the Namibian Constitution. Taking this into consideration, I wish to seize this opportunity to salute my predecessors, His Excellency President Sam Nujoma, His Excellency President Hifikepunye Pohamba, His Excellency President Hage G. Geingob, as well as you, Comrade Speaker, and other historic Namibian leaders. Most importantly, I commend the Namibian people for their support in the face of unexpected sorrow, grief, and challenges. This year, Namibia will hold presidential and National Assembly elections. I appeal to all political parties, their leaders and members, to ensure that the elections are peaceful. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson, as we begin to pick ourselves up from the despair of the past several weeks, we face an expectant nation. From the old to the young, from every region, town and village, Namibians are looking to their government for economic relief, prospect for job opportunities, and to live in a country that is safe and secure. They hope that the development of oil and gas and the green hydrogen will transform our country into a haven of economic growth, employment, and prosperity. As a result of these promising trends, we expect the announcement of concrete results from the intensive offshore drilling program. Furthermore, several uranium mines will recommence operations. In addition, the construction of 3 green hydrogen projects should be completed. Furthermore, the Walvis Bay container terminal concession should become effective paving the way for increasing investment and container traffic. Through implementation of the National Development Plans and the Harambee Prosperity Plan 1 and 2, we have ensured that Namibia remains on track even during times of physical consolidation. On governance, on effective governance, President Geingob promised to strengthen Namibia's governance architecture by building on the solid foundation bequeathed by his predecessor, namely the founding president once again and the second president. Through effective governance, we promote responsive processes, system, and accountable institutions in the public sector to accelerate the national development plans toward Vision 2030. On accountability, transparency, and governance, the open door policy of the presidency, exemplified through the national town hall meetings and other engagements with members of the Namibian society, is a clear demonstration of government's commitment to fostering transparency and citizen participation. As a government, we remain committed to upholding the fundamental principles of freedoms of expression and freedom of the press. It is why Namibia reclaimed the #1 position on the Press Freedom Index in Africa. On anti-corruption mechanism, Namibia contained the 6th position in Africa on the 2023 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. On the 2022 Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance, Namibia is ranked 8th out of 54 African countries. This speaks to the robustness of our systems, processes, and institutions. We have made significant strides in the rollout of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy and Action Plan 2021 to 2025, with 7 out of 95 actions implemented. The Witness Protection Act of 2017 has been operationalized with the appointment of an acting director and staff for the Witness Protection Unit. To ensure speedy access to justice, 37 community courts have been established by the Ministry of Justice effective from February this year. On service delivery, the rollout of the Public Performance Management System is fostering a culture of citizen-centered service delivery. In an effort to harness efficiency, e-services were rolled out in 14 offices, ministries, and agencies during the reporting period. Fully implemented systems include Commodity Beneficiary Management Information System, Integrated Assistance System, Border Influx Control System, and the Declaration of Interest System. These advancements signify a commitment to the digital transformation and efficiency in public sector. The e-governance procurement strategy is intended to improve transparency and accountability in the public procurement system. In an effort to modernize operations, the Namibian Police Force successfully implemented the automated biometric identification system and advanced video surveillance, CCTV. Likewise, considerable progress has been achieved in the expansion of public e-health services. In this regard, network infrastructure has been successfully installed in 35 hospitals and 23 health centers. On decentralization, in our service to bring government closer to the people, the transfer of decision-making and activity implementation powers and responsibility were approved by Cabinet and transferred by delegation from 5 ministries to regional councils. On legislation, government prioritized the tabling in Parliament of 7 enabling policies and laws, namely the Namibia Equity Economic Empowerment Bill, Access to Information Bill, Land Reform Bill, Namibia Investment Promotion and Facilitation Bill, the Namibian Informal Economy and Entrepreneurship Policy and Attendant Bill, Cybercrime Bill, and the Data Protection Bill. It is my hope and expectation that these important bills will be promulgated before the end of this year. On security and the rule of law, the strengthened police capacity, to strengthen police capacity, NAMPO recruited 1,119 cadet constables this last financial year. Plans are also underway to recruit an additional 1,700 cadet constables during the financial year 2024-2025. Additionally, 6 new police stations were constructed at Itareni in Walvis Bay, Erongo region, Onkumbula in Oshikoto region, Kurenkuru and Namasira, Kavango region, Kavango West region, Kamenga, Zambezi region, and Omatako, Ochodonjupa region. Government will continue to maintain a zero-tolerance stance against perpetrators of gender-based violence and violence against children. Let me strongly emphasize the need for visible police patrols, anti-crime operations, and greater police presence on the ground, most particularly in the crime hotspots in and around our cities and towns. Furthermore, let me encourage the public to play an active role by holding hands with the law enforcement agencies in ensuring that our Namibia House is crime-free. Fellow Namibians, in an effort to ease the movement of people across the region, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration and Safety and Security introduced the issuance of visa on arrival at several entry points, with the latest addition being Katima Muliro, Imparila Island, and Goma border post. Furthermore, the Trans-Kalahari and Katima Muliro border posts are now operating on a 24-hour basis. This has improved trade across the borders, as well as movement of persons, with a resultant reduction in congestions at the 2 border posts. On economic advancement, over the past year, we have witnessed significant progress in the area of fiscal discipline, the unlocking of new economic opportunities, and the crafting of progressive policies that will anchor Namibia's regional and international competitiveness. On financial strategy, in recognition of the important role that SMEs play in creating employment and spreading economic benefits wider, government has continued investing in the SMEs financing strategy, which received $40 million Namibia at the end of October last year, and this is provided through the First National Bank and Standard Bank under the Credit Guarantee Scheme. Additionally, the Ministry of Finance transferred $8.5 million to the Development Bank to roll out the mentorship and coaching program. Similarly, to promote local empowerment and employment creation, the Code of Good Practice on Preferences, a policy instrument for national preferences for local content suppliers, SMEs, women and youth-owned business was approved. On promoting investment in Namibia. The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, as well as the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board, have played a crucial role in promotion of domestic and foreign investment to diversify Namibia's economy. Due to Namibia's favorable investment climate, the board has attracted close to 50 international business delegations, exploring investment opportunities in Namibia during the reporting period. The execution of various business school recommendations from the Business School Task Force is underway. Some have been completed, including enactment of the Banking Institution Act, review of SME Code Relief Credit Scheme, credit guarantee, and the development of banks, and the development of Bank of Namibia's COVID relief loans scheme. Furthermore, consultation on a national scale regarding the Namibian Investment Promotion Facilitation Act are on the way. The aforementioned collaborative efforts serve to emphasize government's steadfast dedication to economic growth and establishing a conducive investment environment for both domestic and foreign investment. On oil and gas, in 2023, Namibia experienced a surge in oil exploration activities from international oil companies, especially in the promising oil-rich basins, including the Walvis Bay and the Orange basins. We expect firmer estimates of recoverable reserve to be announced this financial year. We are prepared for this opportunity through a robust local content regime, a ready sovereign wealth fund, amongst various other measures to maximize the impact and the benefits for our country. On green industrialization, today Namibia is underway in exploring the feasibility of using locally produced green hydrogen to manufacture goods such as ammonia, fertilizer, hydrogen, iron, cement in a cleaner manner, giving us a potential competitive advantage to capture new markets. The green ammonia market is expected to reach 70% growth by 2030. This year, pilot project for green hydrogen, green ammonia, and green iron production will produce initial outputs for the first time. Other policies. During his national budget speech, the Minister of Finance highlighted a new tax regime looking to shed 4 percentage points of our corporate tax rate, and a new competitive rate of 20% for activities housed in special economic zones, and doubled the effective tax threshold for individuals. This will provide much relief to our citizens and are promising signals for Namibians and investors considering to establish a foothold in Namibia. National census. Yesterday we learned that our population now stands at over 3 million people, a significant increase from 2011. I commend the Namibia Statistics Agency for successfully executing our national census. I now task our experts from both the NSA and the Bank of Namibia to update our social accounting matrix to enable us to comprehensively measure the wider socioeconomic impact of the key economic drivers. Sovereign Wealth Fund. In recognition of the need to prepare for a bountiful harvest to come, we seeded the Welwitschia Sovereign Wealth Fund. We are committed to ensure that the fund is transparent and accountable to the Namibian people, which means to you, members of parliament. I am pleased to report that since its establishment, the fund's investment returns have grown from the initial seed capital of 262 million Namibia dollars to 425 million. Namibia's economic trajectory is promising, with a projected medium-term growth forecast between 3 and 4%. On social progression, President Geingob envisaged a Namibia free from hunger and poverty, a Namibia where no one feels left out. We therefore appreciate the fact that 50% of this year's budget has been allocated to the social sectors of health and social services, basic and higher education, and poverty eradication, gender equality, and social welfare initiatives. This is the Namibian government's enduring investment into our most valuable resources, which is our own people. During the period under review, to achieve zero death from hunger, poverty, the following were achieved. 330,000 households, including 33,000 marginalized households, received drought relief on a monthly basis. 57,581 farmers were capacitated in crop, livestock production, animal health, horticulture, poultry, among others. In addition, 354 tractors and other equipment were employed to farmers countrywide through the Namibia Agricultural Mechanization and Seed Implementation Program. Government resolved to reignite productivity in green schemes by outsourcing their operations through competitive leasing. Of the 4 green schemes placed on the market, the Uvungu Dairy Project and the Orange River Irrigation Project have been awarded to potential investors. With regards to land, more than 2/3 of Namibians live in communal areas. The introduction of land registration in community areas for tenure security for people holding land rights in those areas is one way to improve the lives of the rural people. Implementation of the revised resettlement policy of 2023 is progressing well. Regional consultation on the draft resettlement criteria have been completed, and a total of 18 beneficiaries have been resettled in Ochodonjupa, Kunene, Karas, Hardap, and Maheke regions during the reporting period. In the fishery sector, the promotion of Namibianization is progressing well. To date, 90% of the fishing rights are owned by Namibians, and the sector employs over 18,000 employees, and all of them Namibians, those ones. Government has successfully implemented the employment redressing program, which employ 2,367 people. This is a sustainable job opportunity initiative addressing the challenges of joblessness experienced by former fishermen, since 2015. With regard to job creation, to secure livelihoods, government facilitated the placement of 1,350 job seekers in different sectors under the Namibian Integrated Employment Information System. On social grants, to contribute to social and economic upliftment of the most vulnerable members of our society, the government successfully converted the food bank program into cash transfer in April 2022. The conditional basic income grant is now being rolled out to existing food bank beneficiaries, covering 8,907 households, or 37,519 beneficiaries, at the cost of Namibia dollars 81.3 million per annum. Furthermore, government has allocated 3.4 billion towards social safety nets this financial year. The old age social grants and the disability grant have been further increased from 1,400 to 1,600. An announcement and an amount of over 874 million was paid to veterans of the liberation struggle as a subvention and for their project. In 2023, the school feeding program reached 460,860 learners across 1,514 schools countrywide. President Geingob took the historic decision to regularize the status of stateless and undocumented persons. The 4 bills that have been drafted to achieve this objective are at various stages of approval and due to be tabled in the current session of Parliament. On land delivery, housing and sanitation. For the period under review, government provided subsidies to local authorities and regional councils to the tune of 297 million under the Mass Urban and Regional Land Servicing Program. Government remains steadfast to address the backlog of servicing urban land and affordable housing. To this end, the following progress is noted. 26 newly proclaimed towns have been achieved. 3,103 new plots were fully serviced in various parts of the country, bringing the total number of service plots during this period to 6,024. And an additional 4,791 partially serviced plots are being serviced in partnership between government, Shack Dwellers Federation, and the private sector. 2,073 housing units constructed at a cost of 97 million Namibian dollars have been completed in partnership with Shack Dwellers and other stakeholders. The new National Housing and Implementation Strategy was approved by Cabinet in November last year. Government provided a grant of 10 million to the Shack Dwellers Federation for land servicing and housing, and an additional grant of 17 million towards the Federation's informal settlement upgrading program. Housing. Government has concluded a new agreement for the 319 of the 505 uncompleted houses at Swakopmund, enabling resumption of work and completion of 200 houses by December last year. Government, through the community-led total sanitation program, completed about 591 ventilated toilets for the household in various rural areas. Improved access to health care. Namibia has been recognized by the World Health Organization for being the first country in the world to complete a global review and meet the criteria for the path to elimination of hepatitis B virus. In March last year, our country was recognized by PEPFAR for the progress made towards ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. Similarly, in February this year, our country again received 2 awards from the World Health Organization on progress made to eliminate mother-to-child transmission of hepatitis B virus, and also on elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV. Government completed renovations of the renal dialysis units at the Windhoek Central Hospital and the Monanjokwe Intermediate Hospital. The Line Ministry is increasing renal dialysis treatment capacity at several state hospitals. The construction of a new Windhoek District Hospital is envisaged to reduce referrals to Katutura Intermediate Hospital. To this end, the hospital site has been allocated and consultant appointed to conduct a feasibility study for the district hospital. On expanding educational infrastructure. To enhance the quality of education, Cabinet in 2022 adopted the Transforming Education Strategy and Implementation Plan for the next 7 years. During the period under review, the following gains were made. During 2023, 510 classrooms and 70 ablution facilities were constructed countrywide. To address learner accommodation, 5 hostel facilities with combined capacity of 1,260 beds have been built in Kavango West and Zambezi region during the reporting period. On higher education, a comprehensive transformation plan was developed to expand access to technical vocational education and training. To date, 13 out of 14 regions are public TVET centers. Of the newly constructed centers, Korihas Vocational Training Center in the Kunene region and Kanahab TV Center in Hardap region will be operationalized in April this year. While Kurenkuru and Kiedmanswap VTCs are expected to be completed in the second quarter of 2024. In addition to graduates in medicine, for the first time, the University of Namibia has produced the first Namibian dentist, as well as the first group of postgraduate in neonatal care during the period under review. Construction has commenced for the Center of Excellence for Cancer Imaging at Hage Geingob campus of the University of Namibia. Let us come now to the favorite topic of every boy and every girl, sports. Namibia is a small nation in terms of number of people. However, we have punched above our weight, as demonstrated through recent exploits. The National Paralympic team participated in the Paris 2023 World Para-Athletics Championship and returned with 3 silver medals, while the Brave Warriors qualified for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. For the first time in Namibian football history, our team emerged for the first round, making it to the second round. Domestically, the reporting period coincided with the resumption of the Namibia Premier Football League. Our country's efforts were recognized by the International Cricket Council, following Cricket Namibia's 3 international wins and awards at the ICC annual award ceremony. The renovation of the Independence Stadium is a government priority. The appointment of multidisciplinary consultant is expected to conclude during the first quarter of this year. Infrastructural development. Infrastructural development remains a core pillar of our socio-economic development. We therefore have to be strategic in making investments that enable us to connect Namibia to the region and to the world markets in order to achieve our true economic potential. On energy, energy is the backbone of industry and livelihoods for all human beings. Substantial progress was made in enhancing our energy infrastructure through the electrification of 365 rural households, 2,515 peri-urban households in this reporting period. Additionally, 33 schools have been electrified and linked to the national grid under the electrification program. Moreover, the Anigas 2 power project at Walvis Bay is 85% complete, and its additional 50 megawatts will contribute to energy supply security from June this year. The development of the 40 megawatts Ochikoto biomass power project is progressing well, and the engineering and construction contractors have been selected. On water, I think on water I better. About 146 boreholes were drilled in various regions, with 97 commissioned. In addition, 51 boreholes and 45 water supply points rehabilitated to enhance the availability of water in some remote rural areas. 310,000 liters of water were supplied to those rural communities. Increasing uranium prices and the burgeoning green hydrogen sector foreshadow a sharp increase in the demand for water in the Erongo and Karas regions. It is critical that we accelerate our plans to build desalinated water facilities in our coastal regions to support industrializing development. On port and other facilities, the green hydrogen and oil and gas subsectors will lead to increased economic activities in the ports in exports via Walvis Bay and Lutherans. This in turn will require Namport to increase the handling capacity of its equipment. Government has availed $2.5 billion Namibia dollars in this financial year towards railway infrastructure. This is for the Kransberg-Ochuarongo railway section and for the rehabilitation of the Sant Verhaal Boekholsbroem railway section in the south. On roads, fellow Namibians, I list below a comprehensive number of developments in the road sector. 23 kilometers of Windhoek to Okahanja dual carriageway road were completed, generating 375 jobs. Progress had been made with the Butumen, Kobabis, Aminius, Aranos, and the Swakopmund Hentis, Uis, Korihas road. 56 kilometers of gravel roads were completed. 93.7 kilometers of pre-existing roads were rehabilitated, and 180.9 kilometers of existing gravel road network was de-gravelled. Now on international affairs. And when you get to international affairs, you can see we are moving somewhere. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chairperson, over the past 9 years of the Harambee Prosperity 1 and 2, Namibia has continued to pursue an active policy on international relations and cooperation, consistent with the diplomacy of a small but principled state. The policies that we follow in our international relations are a response to the world that is becoming increasingly complex, with multifaceted challenges that have the potential to affect our stability, our peace, our development, and prosperity. Multilateralism, which is the bedrock for a peaceful and stable rule-based world order, is under serious threat. The resurgence of major conflicts and tensions across the globe are affecting supply chains, commodity prices, and impacting on economic growth. Transnational crimes, drug trafficking, cybercrime present a real danger for the stability of our economy and our country. Climate change is adversely impacting Namibia in disproportionate manner, with recurrent droughts and sometimes floods, forcing the hands of government to change development priorities. Artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, present both opportunities and threats. The government of the Republic of Namibia, under the capable leadership of our late President and Chief Diplomat, His Excellency Dr. Hage G. Geingob, appropriately responded with all the tools at our disposal to meet these challenges. Correspondingly, we have strengthened our bilateral and multilateral engagements on the basis of the guided principle of, and I quote, a friend to all, an enemy to none. Our bilateral relations are strong, and our multilateral relations are principled to advance peace, solidarity, and development. Fellow Namibians, the respect and prestige we enjoyed as a country and the administration for our late President, Dr. Hage G. Geingob, were demonstrated in the outpouring of grief and record high attendance of world leaders as the state funeral of President Geingob. Indeed, the Pan-Africanist contributions of President Geingob to a stable Africa and a better world did not go unnoticed. I wish to highlight a snapshot of high-level bilateral engagement that Namibia was seized with under the leadership of President Geingob in the past years. Alongside with Botswana President, His Excellency Mokwetsi Masisi, President Geingob launched the use of ID cards as travel documents between Namibia and Botswana at the Trans-Kalahari Mamuno border post in February last year. This groundbreaking initiative is facilitating trade, including movement of people along the common border. President Geingob undertook a state visit to South Africa in April last year. In addition to bilateral discussions on issues such as the Orange River boundary and the Southern African Customs Union, the visit gave impetus to hosting the third binational commission, which President Ramaphosa and President Geingob chaired in Windhoek in October last year. President Geingob hosted His Excellency Sauli Niinisto, President of Finland, for a state visit to Namibia in April last year. The two countries agreed to promote a green transition and the fourth industrial revolution. President Geingob hosted Honorable Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister of Denmark, and Honorable Mark Rutte, Prime Minister of the Netherlands, for a historic joint working visit to Namibia in June last year, premised on the promotion of green hydrogen economy. In August 2023, President Geingob hosted His Excellency Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez, the President of Cuba, at the Heroes' Day as the Heroes' Day guest of honor. I wish to assure Namibian people that the government remains committed to conclude the genocide negotiations with Germany and the Orange River boundary negotiation with South Africa, to which our late president was firmly committed. On international relations, in 2022, Namibia was elected to the African Union Peace and Security Council for the period 2022-2025. Namibia is currently chairing the African Union Peace and Security Council for the month of March 2024, for focusing on the insecurity in the Democratic Republic of Congo. As chair, it is our hope that the respective processes of transition underway in Sudan, Mali, Chad, Guinea, and Burkina Faso will bear some fruits. Namibia continues to make the common African position. Namibia continues to promote the common African position in the Ezulwini Consensus and the Sirte Declaration with regard to the reform of the United Nations Security Council. The voice of Africa cannot be ignored in the United Nations Security Council, and the call for the reform of the United Nations Security Council for the UN to live up to the ideal of a just and equitable world order. In the same vein, Namibia reiterates support for the people of Palestine to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination. In this regard, Namibia made submissions in July and an oral in July last year, and an oral presentation in February this year to the International Court of Justice. Furthermore, we call for the unconditional uplifting of illegal financial, commercial, and economic embargoes imposed on the people of Cuba and unilateral coercive measures imposed on Venezuela and Zimbabwe. President Geingob was looking forward to bidding farewell to the United Nations General Assembly in September 2024 as co-chair alongside Germany of the United Nations Summit of the Future. In honoring the legacy and memory of President Geingob, I'm confident that our democracy will rise up to the challenge as we seek to forge a new global consensus on multilateral solutions to comprehensively address global challenges. Namibia is the host to the International Women Peace Center, whose objective is to strengthen women's participation in peace building and peace support operations. President Geingob was a champion of democracy for peace, economic development, and prosperity. I am confident that in the years to come, we will keep his legacy alive by working harder for a prosperous Namibia and Africa and a safer world. Fellow Namibians, the greatest honor one can obtain in life is to leave behind a legacy of positive change, not only for one's family, but for one's community and the world at large. He has left us with a blueprint for a united, peaceful, and prosperous Namibian house. He has ensured that a future of great promise beckons for Namibia. It is now incumbent on us to pick up where he has left off and continue marching towards them in order to achieve our developmental objectives. Let us do so by safeguarding Namibia's democracy, Namibia's unity, and Namibia's rule of law. Let us do so by safeguarding our peace and stability. Let us do so by safeguarding our sovereignty and independence, by safeguarding the integrity of our processes, systems, and institutions. We will guide our nation and its people towards a path of shared prosperity and victory in the second phase of the struggle, namely that of economic emancipation. In so doing, we will do justice to the legacy of Namibia's historic triumvirate, the President Sam Nujoma, President Hifikepunye Pohamba, and the late President Hage Geingob. May God bless the Republic of Namibia. May God bless Africa. May God give the world peace. I thank you.
May I sincerely thank you, Your Excellency, for a comprehensive address on the state of the nation with all the necessary details that are required. And let me say it is our collective responsibility as leaders of our people to create conducive environment for our country and its people to progress. Thank you. Honorable members, as the tradition has it, the floor is now open for engagement and feedback with His Excellency, the President. I just want to remind members that we try and accommodate everyone as practically possible. Let us keep our questions brief and straight to the point, as they say. I will give the floor, the first opportunity, to the party leaders, and then the rest will follow. Right, the Honorable Megantu Venani.
Mr. Speaker, we welcome the President to this very important House, the Deputy President, the Vice President, First Lady, ambassadors and plenipotentiaries of states, members of Parliament. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, as a footnote, the political theater is very shallow and empty. Today would have been a very important day in the life of our politics, as President Geingob would have made his valedictory State of the Nation address. He would have been shaking his leg, awaiting what we would ask him. Now, this morning I was reminded by the song of Frank Sinatra, who sang a song and who said, "I did it my way." And he says that now that the end is near, I did it my way. We pay tribute to my dear brother, adversary and a great statesman, President Geingob. President Bumba, Your Excellency, your job is a very tough one, and it is made tougher by the person that you succeeded. Therefore, I'm putting these very important questions to you, questions of accountability. Mr. President, you yourself in your persona have been indicted to give evidence in court over the Fish Rod saga in your role as former Secretary General of the ruling party. I put the following to you, Mr. President. Will you go and testify in a court of law, or will you invoke Article, listen, this is Parliament, this is a house of palaver, my friend.
Professional hand clappers, keep quiet.
This is a state of the nation. Presidency is not an easy job, that's why many of you are not presidents. Mr. President, will you invoke Article 31 of our Constitution, or will you walk the talk of accountability and go and testify in court? Question 1 on accountability. A. C. Your predecessor has upped the bar on declaring his personal assets. Will you do so? And what is your role in the company called Kares Energy that we are told that you are involved in? Question number 2, Honorable Speaker, Honorable President, I was listening very attentively to the President, articulated the State of the Nation address. Unemployment is not a serious issue, but it is a crisis point. An honorable member of my party led a motion here who said, let's declare youth unemployment a national crisis. Your predecessor agreed with us that it was a national crisis. I want to know from you, what are the efforts that your government is making to address unemployment in this country, and youth unemployment in particular? Question number 3, agriculture and land reform. I credit your government under your watch that we have the biggest expansionary budget in the history of this country, 34 years after independence. That for the first time we have hit 100 billion budget. But Mr. President, a 100 billion budget needs to create jobs, needs to absorb jobs. You have underfunded. At the moment that I give you credit, on a big budget, you have underfunded agriculture that should absorb jobs, that should create food sufficiency and self-sufficiency. How does your government speak on food security, employment creation, if you are underfunding agriculture? There are 250 farms owned by foreigners in this country under agriculture. We are coming from a land conference 2018. Question is, Mr. President, how many farms of foreign owners have you expropriated under your government? Your statement did not speak to that. Question number 4. Honorable President.
5 now.
No, not 4. No. Thematic areas. Honorable Speaker, this is a house of debate. You are not children. I have question 1, A and B. Accountability. Yeah, question 1, 2, A and B.
Okay.
Agriculture.
I listed up to 5, but you may continue, please, because there are many of your colleagues who are waiting.
This is our time. This is our time.
No, but I'm saying we need to have everyone should have a participate.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I'm always rushing, and everybody has no questions.
No.
So wait, let's wait. Let's not rush each other. You are not the speaker either. Yeah. You are not the speaker.
Please.
Honorable President, you raised a very important concern not a concern. You were saying the fishing industry is on track and you have absorbed 2,300 jobs. Mr. President, the government employment redress program is marked by corruption. Carte blanche corruption that is happening. In fact, I'm traveling tonight to the coast to address fishermen that are raising a number of concerns, that we have allocated quotas to fishing companies, but these companies are paying the workers to remain at home so that they make more income on themselves. In fact, this whole thing is killing the fishermen. How do you address the question of massive corruption that is happening at the marine housing?
Can we
two more, Speaker, please. Speaker.
Because your colleagues are also waiting.
Speaker.
You see, you cannot have more than 5 questions.
Where is that rule that says I can't have more than 5 questions?
It's not a question, it's more practical.
No, I'm very practical. Speaker, I could have finished.
Please.
Housing.
I want you to also to respect other people who are waiting in the queue, please.
Everyone.
Yeah, okay. One more, please. One more. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, it's very sad for parliamentary democracy. But be that as it may, Honorable President, you have allocated money to build 200 homes. Our backlog is 300,000. You have serviced 3,000 plots. The whole Namibia is sitting with 780,000 households that are living in shacks. How does your government speak towards addressing land allocation to urban settlers in this country? Lastly, genocide. Honorable Speaker, the President, I agree with you that you are dealing with a very complex matter that I and you agree on genocide. But I want you to appraise this House. How far are we? And what are we going to do to create a national strategy in our national interest to find a win-win on behalf of our people?
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Honorable Mukwailongo.
His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba and Madam Mbumba, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, allow me to pose this question as they concern the nation. Number 1, Namibia have entrusted this government with their money, which has been invested in the Sovereign Wealth Fund. When will this money begin to be used for the benefit of all Namibians? How much has been collected so far, and how is this money guided against corruption? Second, Your Excellency, you have inherited a country that has been destroyed by poverty and hunger. What will your government do differ in the next few months to help the masses of our people in informal settlement and rural areas? Mr. President, the sharks are every day growing all over, here in Windhoek and many other towns. Mr. President, please retain the old compound as in the past and accommodate such as security guard, petrol attendants, cleaner, and many more. Those cannot afford houses because here in Windhoek the house is too expensive. Some of these people who are having a low income, they are not afford houses here in Windhoek. Third, Mr. President, when are you going to remove the red line? Are you going to be like your former president, or will you demonstrate strength and not weakness so that you can save our farm north of the land line? Lastly, Mr. President, your integrity and legacy should also be remembered. We're having our brother from Caprivi in prison. Has been there for many years, 24 years. It's a lot of years. And the person who was commanding these people, this year having 83 years, but he's no longer here in this country. Please, Mr. President, as a nation that believes in reconciliation, why are you not giving parole to the Caprivian and get them released?
Thank you. We are moving on. Not Honorable Kawandeng, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. So it's Honorable Mbundu, not Kawandenge, as you said.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for the floor that you have given to me, Honorable Speaker, to ask a few questions to His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mbumba. Salutation to Mr. President. I doubt if I had the opportunity to personally congratulate you for ascending to the highest office of government as the Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces. This I say as you will be primarily responsible for the safe transition of political power after 2024 National Assembly and presidential election. Mr. President, in this political year, do we need to know and trust that your leadership will ensure safe, democratic and fair elections where the rule of law will prevail? Nonetheless, allow me to seek your counsel on matters of national concern, with the hope that you and your cabinet member not only respond accordingly, but take decisive steps. I'm coming to question now. Question number one. Mr. President, during the tenure of your predecessor, where you are aware of the late His Excellency Dr. Gengop's dislike the entrepreneurs within the government, and as such, do we wish to ask your office what step you intend of public fund through dubious tendering? Because as it stands now, can I refer to a certain company named Adaptive Building Land Construction going about with their Chinese partners? We want to hear from your office, how you plan to deal with the high-level servants who use their position to advantage their companies, as is the case with Adapt Building Land. At the
Welcome back. That was President Nangolo Mbumba with his maiden State of the Nation address in the National Assembly this afternoon. I say apologies for the technology that didn't cooperate towards the end, but the gist of the message is clear, and some of the questions were also put whilst we were still on air from Parliament. Madam Nangolo, before we get into the particulars of what transpired this afternoon, talk to us about to what extent your expectations that you shared with the Namibian nation earlier were met or not.
Thank you very much, Denver. I think in terms of education, the President has spoken about the government constructing 510 classrooms and 70 ablution facilities, we also saw him speak about the school feeding program and addressing the needs there in that regard. However, to be honest, the issue still continues. We still don't have enough classrooms in the country, and we were expecting some sort of approach from government in terms of how do we address the issue of classrooms and insufficient schools and materials at schools as well. However, I'm very happy to also see that government over the period has been pushing an agenda of access to justice, addressing the needs. But also earlier on, I've mentioned that also one of my expectations is to see how government can provide a means and systems that allow our Namibian citizens to also benefit from the rising industries. And we are seeing that there's also a local content regime, among other measures that are in place to ensure that Namibians benefit from the industries such as oil and gas. So I'm very happy to see that as well.
Thank you so much. To what extent were your expectations met or not, sir?
I think the president did what we expected to see, a rundown on what has happened and what is going to happen going forward. I'm happy to have listened to issues pertaining to SMEs, issues pertaining to unemployment, where the president is saying that they've got more plan on how these issues will be dealt with. However, on the issues of the newly coming up industries, there is very little that comes out there. We just say this will happen, but how the Namibian child would benefit from what will happen is still not very clear. We're talking about some constructions which should be completed, but that alone still does not speak wholly to what we expected. But so far, I think he's done well. A very comprehensive reporting back to the Namibian nation on where we are and which direction we are going to take, which now gives us, as the Namibian nation, a point of concern. We have now been given the map. It's our responsibility to follow that map, and come sometime next year, we could ask that, okay, we were told this, we are here down the line, what have we achieved, what have we not achieved? But the bigger picture that's still coming out there is that we are one nation and we should pull in the same direction.
Thank you very much. We have good news that the feed has been reconnected and it is stable at Parliament, so we'll now hear to President Ngolo Mbumba respond to some of those questions from opposition politicians.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Your Excellency, Mr. President, with your permission, please allow me to ask two questions. The just released 2023 census report indicates that more than 70% of the Namibian population are youth under age of 35, and the unemployment and poverty is higher among this age group in the country. Are there measures in place from the government to ensure that Article 95G of the Namibian Constitution is used to put measures in place that ensure the welfare of this active population group of our country? Question 2, Namibia is well known as a mixed economic state in the SADC region. However, the capitalist and socialist ideologies are well recognized in our society and they remain imbalanced. Particularly, there is imbalance between two major economic ideology. The question is, what is the strategic the government and her business arm have that could able to improve socialism to be balanced with capitalism, which is left far away in the economic environment? In your leadership term as the fourth President of the Republic, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Those were the questions addressed to you, Your Excellency. I would suggest we deal with round one. You may respond to those questions, and then we move to second round.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I would like to thank all honorable members for their questions. And some of them are very kind to me.
they were much kinder than the questions they have posed. Question number 1 is coming from my Honorable cousin, who, although he is trying to be family, but he would rather find me, we want to see me in court. Try your luck. As SG, you can check the records of the party, whatever money you can think I have. And if there are people who think they have records on me, they are free to proceed to courts. And the question, the big question is, if, as you are saying, if I'm asked by the court to appear in front of the court, I will. I will. Then the issue of another thing on the issue of the, am I in business? Basically, the energy. That company no longer exists, has no power, and I'm not having any share in that company. Okay? Then the real issue is as you said, is accountability. I am accountable to the people of Namibia. They can do anything with me. I will serve them, but they are the boss. I am not the boss of the people. Nor am I above parliament or about courts. That must be clear. The issue, the real, now that was a question of accountability and test of my patience or my temperament. I'm not going to get angry with you because you asked me a naughty question. But such is politics, family or no families. The issue of unemployment is a crisis to all of us, that we understand. There are many measures that have been brought to cabinet by the Minister of Labor, by the Prime Minister, by all of us. Those measures will be known as we move along this financial year. Nobody is happy that people are not having employment. Nobody. As you think you have relatives who are not employed, so do I. Why? That is a common problem. The issue of budgeting in terms of agriculture. Where is Caleb? Yeah, Caleb is not here. So Caleb is a former finance minister. And he must be quarreling with the Minister of Finance now to get more money. But as I said in my speech, money went to your education, went to your health facilities, went to other things, It's not a question that we don't want to give money to the Ministry of Agriculture. But we will do what is possible to make sure. Some of us come from Windhoek. Go and preach to the people who are the real farmers. I think the one who till the land. What the people there need really is the equipment, which we are saying this mechanical thing of equipment, tractors on. People, let them get equipment. Let them get the pumping machines, the small pumping machine, to get the water from the river, pump the river, and make sure that they have water for their plants. It's not for somebody from Windhoek to come and preach to somebody in Kavango or Zambezi how to till land. No, but you are just preaching, which means you are politicking. Okay? Then, the issue of expropriation of farms. The problem with us, even if you expropriate the farm, you still pay. You still pay. That is according to the law. You understand the Constitution. You are the members of Parliament. So, we have been buying farms and distributing to those who deserve to be helped. Now, whether we buy it or we expropriate it, that's for you or for all of us to consider and decide. The employment of fishermen, that has been a crisis. That has been a real crisis. We should not make it a political issue. If there is somebody who has a way to solve it, to convince the company to do whatever is right, and if there is a law that is being broken, we are ready to enforce the law. Let us not saying this is a very, very complicated program. The minister, the new minister of fishery, really tried his best, together with the minister of labor, to make sure that quotas are given to companies, people are employed, people start working, and people start earning their own salaries. There is something about labor, there is dignity to labor. So if you are just told we will give you 4,000, even you stay home, it's not, everybody wants to be told, to tell the family, I'm going to work. And when you come, they tell you, oh, welcome back home. Then the housing plots and land servicing, we can only give you what is true and what we have done and what we plan to do. We are not going to give promises we cannot deliver. The issue of genocide, that will require another meeting. Honestly, just a meeting on genocide alone, okay? Because, and I want to now, I used to chair the committee that coordinated the negotiations as a vice president. I'm now going to give that responsibility to the vice president, who is a better diplomat than I am. Maybe her work will be more successful than mine. But people come here, the president of Germany was here, he said something. But unless, the bottom line is really, is Germany ready to compensate to the level acceptable to all of us? That is the real bottom. To say that we apologize is nothing. It's not. It's a damage caused, heavy responsibility done. But that one we must meet, and I'm ready to meet the traditional leaders to make sure that I understand what they want to be done, and so on. That is cover my cousin Fernani. Now, my other Nkwirongo, how are you? How are you apart from being red? So it's good. You mentioned one thing, which I mentioned in my statement, about the Welvetia Wealth Fund. When are we going to use this money? The Welvetia Wealth Fund, the idea is to save some money for the next generation. So if we start using that money, it's no longer a wealth fund. That one we must understand. So we will continue to add if this mining and the green hydrogen issues really develop to the full. We will have $1 billion in that fund. We'll have billions in that fund. But it's meant now to cover for drier periods, but especially for the next generation. The issue of poverty, the issue of shack dwelling, how to deal with housing, those are all things we want to do, but bringing out the old compound. Dr. Libertina Madira, long time ago, destroyed that idea, refurbish those housing and give it to individuals. So even if we are to build, let us build houses for individual families and so on, not to make it a compound. Nobody wants to live in a compound anymore. The big red line. This problem has been around. There is a nice story about somebody who was hunting the wild beast. They have a horn like this. and he was caught in the belt by the wild beast. And the wild beast was now running with him on his horn. And he was telling others, shoot, don't shoot, shoot, don't shoot. So this red line is a shoot, no shoot thing. Those of you who have farms this side, you are saying don't remove the red line because the economy of the whole country will collapse. Those who are on the other side are saying you are not fair people because you are getting all the benefit to sell your meat, but we in the north are not selling our meat. Instead of quarreling about it, the principal idea is let us remove it. But how and when and how to spend the money to remove it, that is really the question. Then my friend from APP, I believe. Oh, the Republicans. The Republican Party. My goodness. Oh, I thought it was the All African People's Party. No, okay, now the same thing. First, the only people who can guarantee that the elections are carried out properly, peacefully, completely, and the results are acceptable to all of us are all of us. No one is going to guarantee that. My vote is equal to yours, is equal to my grandson, who is going to vote for the first time this year. But that should not be an excuse from any part whatsoever. We have the responsibility, the security, and other institutions, the courts, to carry out their responsibility without fear or favor. Then there is the issue of tenders and political connected people and other health regulations in the World Health Organization. Very complicated thing. The issue of the World Health Organization, please ask the Minister of Health. He will give you better information. I don't want to get into that. The political connected people. Do you know that you are a political person? Are all your relatives now politically connected people? Are all of them having what you are claiming they are having? No. So if somebody commits a crime, if somebody does something wrong, it does not matter whose relative you are. Let the law take its course. Let the law take its course. That was another friend of mine. Was very kind. The rich Namibia and the issue of corruption. Nobody is protecting any corrupt individual. Nobody is publicly saying, I want Namibia to be corrupt. It's for all of us to fight it. But if we just continue to talk about corruption without coming up with cases, President Geingob used to say, tell the authority. There are institutions specializing in these things. Let us open up and say those are the people who are doing this and so on. Then the issue of the real question now, the drought looming again on our shores. We thought this year was going to be a very good year. Everywhere. For the first time, I have lived in Southern Africa. I don't want to tell my age now, although you know it already. I have never heard Zambia declaring drought relief. Never. Yeah. If Zambia has a drought, maybe part of Zimbabwe will also have a drought. We are in for a high jump in terms of food. So whatever food we are producing, let us save it, let us harvest properly. But it is the duty of the government people not to lose their lives. That should be a standard policy of any government in Namibia. The issue of unemployment, I've commented already. We protect the rights. The property rights are granted in terms of the Constitution. I don't know how many people in here can claim to have been members of parliament, apart from the speaker and maybe the vice president. Who else? Nobody. Yeah, okay, Jerry is here, okay? So there are few, but they did what they could under those conditions. Don't think they were weak. So the property rights are protected, but if you take somebody's property, compensation is due. The issue of the land question, there is a lot of things we need to do. We have land conference number 2. There are recommendations there. Let us follow them and let us live up to them. After all, we are the one who make them. The person who is in my village, he should be a chief, but because he moved away, he is no longer a chief. Shumbwa. The census is, we are glad the census is now done, is completed. It is true, 70% are young people. That's why we move up to 3 million. The issue of unemployment, again, we are pumping money in education. We want people to be trained. We want even people to be trained in terms of vocational training and other things. That continues to be a challenge, but the youth should not give up. If they improve on their education, they improve on other things, they continue to gain skills, they will be accommodated in terms of employment. Also, those of you who are responsible for trade, who are responsible for investment, all of you go abroad, then it is good that we hurry up to have those projects come to fruition, and so that they can get some employment. The issue of mining is also a question. There are many decisions taken. First, there must always be a Namibian component in any mining. Second, we have taken a decision that minerals produced in Namibia should not be taken out of Namibia unprocessed. I hope we will enforce that, and anybody who is doing that illegally is breaking the law now. So,
yes,
I tried.
We are done with round 1. Next on my list. Next on my list is the Honorable Mbangu. You have the floor. The second round.
Yeah, thank you very much, Speaker. But I also need to register my disappointment in terms of how you handle the joint sitting. It's not for the first time. I'm attending, this is now my 4th State of the Nation address that I attended. Normally, in the National Assembly, you normally intentionally relegate members of the National Council always to come either to the third or the second or the third round, which is not appropriate. We have a bicameral system.
No. Wait. Let me correct that.
Yes.
Let me correct that. Wait. Let me correct that. Let me correct that.
Yes.
Let me correct that, honorable member. First and foremost, we take leaders of various political parties, and then once we exhaust the list, we then open up to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving you an advice, Speaker.
Can we Can I have your question?
Yes.
Because that is logistical. We'll deal with that later, not now.
Yes. I think we need to respect the constitution of a bicameral system, not a unicameral system.
Let's have your question.
I don't belong to any political party. I'm an independent member of parliament.
Can we have your question?
Okay. Your Excellency, congratulations on your maiden speech as the first president of the Republic. Yeah, my first intervention is on the issue of drought. There's a severe drought with serious implications on food security and the livelihood of our people. What are the long-term plans of government to sustainably address this situation? We are in this situation today because the agricultural sector is dwarfed.
Yes.
And the reason why it's dwarfed because it lacks modernizations as well as mechanization, as well as inadequate funding on the green scheme. And I hope Your Excellency will also agree with me that as a country, we can't depend most exclusively on others to feed our citizens. And we cannot claim sovereignty, economic or political sovereignty, when we have been fed by others. The first president of this country, the founding president, ratified the Maputo Declaration in July 2003. And in that declaration, there are important decisions. One among them was the allocation of 10% of budgetary resources to agriculture. And for the past 21 years, after that ratification, including the Malambo Declaration that we affirmed, we haven't yet come close to the 10% allocation on the agriculture. Why are we continuing violating our own laws? Because in terms of Article 144 of our constitutions, it says that every international treaty or agreement that we ratify automatically becomes the laws of this country. Your Excellency, I request your cabinet to take a decision to roll out drought relief at least for the next 2 years. I don't need to explain further. You already understand the situation that there's drought everywhere. And this year, it will be worse than last year. Your Excellency, you were a Minister of Education. I want to hear from you from the bottom of your heart. Are you satisfied or are you disturbed by the state of education in this country? And what do you plan to do in the season that you are the president? The other issue is that there is a confusion. There is a confusion about university admission criteria and what the government is doing to guide the learners and not to continue confusing them. Are they planning to overhaul our education system? There's been argument about what a professor of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Namibia said on the admission requirement, what the ministry have also said. There's that confusion. Your Excellency, statistics out there that 71% of 21 million are the youth. I attended the SADC Parliamentary Forum last year in Arusha, Tanzania, and one of the decisions or recommendations made at that conference was for member states to create a youth development trust and also to allocate 5% of the budgetary resources to youth empowerment. What is your take on this recommendation, Your Excellency? In your inaugural speech, Your Excellency, you credited that you assured us that legacy continue, and you credited the current stability in this country to the visionary leadership, and rightly so, to the late President Hage Geingob. The late President wanted to increase the old age grant to 2,000 or 3,000 Namibian dollars. But then, under your leadership, you have only increased to $200. Is that a definition of legacy continue? But in our views, I think it's more legacy in reverse gear. I applaud the government through the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development for introducing the regional and constituency development bill. However, I'm worried that the genuine idea to allocate funds to the constituencies want to be hijacked. Now, in that bill, they created a board. It's like a holding company running the fund that belongs to the constituencies. I am appealing to the honorable members of parliament to agree with me to amend the bill to do away with the board. We don't need the constituency fund to be managed in Windhoek. As if Windhoek is a panacea of knowledge. Your Excellency, in your statement you said that your cabinet is committed in transferring decision-making powers to the Regional Council. And you've also mentioned in your statement that about 5 ministries have been delegated to the Regional Council. Now, here we have a fund for the
Honourable Member, could you conclude, please?
I'm concluding.
Yeah.
He spoke longer than me, Speaker.
Yeah.
You were bullying me.
Yeah, no.
We have a fund for the region, for the constituencies, which is still being managed, have to be managed in Windhoek. And there is no need for us to provide sitting allowance for those board members, because that fund is not the same like any other fund. It can be managed by the Regional Council.
Thank you. Thank you, your time, please. Thank you. I think we are done. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back. You tune into NBC. President Ngolo Mbumba delivered his maiden State of the Nation address in Parliament this afternoon. At the moment, he's responding to questions from opposition politicians. Mr. Odada, we're slowly working our way back to the particulars of what transpired. You've shared with us to what extent your expectations were met by the address. Let's talk about what exactly he had focused on and what that signifies for his tenure. That is not a very long tenure.
Yes, I think the president has focused on continued legacy, whereby he's saying he's not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to work towards the goals that had been set by the late president. So that sets the mood of we're not going to bring anything new. Let's work with what has been there. And given that he has already made it clear that come next year, March 2024, he's not going to be there. So in my understanding, he's not trying to commit to anything that may have an impact after he leaves, but he'd rather continue with what has been there that he can carry on with until the time he leaves, which I think is the best thing to do. If you have less than a year in office, why would you try to introduce new things if there are older things that can be worked on? And that's what he has done throughout his speech. He's been consistently following up on what has been there and how he's going to work towards achieving the goals within the rest of his term, which is very impressive.
A matter that you flagged earlier was, although we heard about the emerging industries, particularly as far as it relates to the green industrialization agenda, but also as far as oil and gas as an emerging industry is concerned. You said that you wanted more particulars in terms of how it will work as relating to employment creation. Could you shed more light on that stance, please?
Yes, you see, like we're saying, these are very new industries in Namibia. We have no knowledge of how to run them. We have no knowledge of how they work. So we'll rely on people with that knowledge who are the international investors. Some of these international investors come with their own ways of doing things, whereby somebody may say, if I'm going to do the construction here, I'm going to bring my tools, I'm going to bring my labor and etc. So what I expected to hear is that, for example, you would be saying, we are going to get into partnership with these foreign investors to tell them that any piece of local work that can be done by a Namibian must be done by a Namibian, and the government will supervise that. For example, if there are materials that are needed and they can be sourced locally, we then also say we will source that locally. But then even if there is those international experts that we bring in, what are we putting in place in terms of skills transfer? Because if we are going to be in this industry for the next 5 years, are we going to continue relying on international expertise? Of course, we may do so, but we'd want as many of the locals to get that knowledge. So there should be a clear roadmap on how the skill transfer will work, within which period, and at what levels within the structures of these new industries.
Thank you. Madam Nangolo, what is it that you would highlight from the State of the Nation address? What is it that stood out for you specifically?
Thank you, Denver. Like I've mentioned, the President has spoken a lot about reviving the economy or putting the economy on the right trajectory by, investing in SME development. But also, I think I must mention also now, there was an expectation on my end, rather, similar to everybody's expectation, that there's kind of a reflection from government from how far since the last State of the Nation address. And from the students, really, in 2022, the government, in the tabling of the budget, did allocate land and funds towards the construction of a student village, but it's going to 2 years now. There's still no sign of the construction of a student's village, and we were expecting to see some of those commitments also reflected, to say this is how far we are. But also in terms of unemployment came out very strongly, in especially by the questions in Parliament, especially. The government in last year was working on, the Ministry of Education was working on a work integrated learning policy, which was also a cabinet resolution. This policy is brilliant in terms of preparing our young people, preparing our students and our graduates for the job market. However, unfortunately, we did not see a reflection of this policy in the State of the Nation address, and we're hoping to see it, of course, implemented to ultimately move towards addressing the issue of unemployment in the country.
Although we did note that the Minister of Finance and Public Enterprises, a fortnight and a day ago, made mention of how provision is indeed being made for this critically important component of work integrated learning to see to it that it does see the light of day in this financial year.
Yes.
You can continue.
Thank you, Denver. I think also another crucial industry that is really under-resourced rather, is the TVET industry. We're expecting more of it to come out to say that how do we capacitate the TVET industry, especially vocational education.
Thank you. Speaking of which, the last question that we saw addressed to the President related to education, seeing that he's a former Minister of Education, and understand we'll cross back to Parliament now for the responses by the President and for more questions by the politicians in the National Assembly.
Query the renowned divide and rule, because Africa is still living under divide and rule as we were carved up by the Berlin Conference. And that is continuing to devastate our continent. Just maybe a comment on that question. We cannot continue to allow African ethnic orientations to live in 2 or in some cases even more than 2 countries. Like I think the Masai are in Uganda, Tanzania and Kenya. Our example here is Kwanyama, half in Angola, Kwanyama. So these artificial borders, before we do away with them as Africans, we will not progress or we will not do any justice to our continent, actually.
That is the question number 1.
That's question number 1. I'm going to 2 now. His Excellency, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, the low shares, percentages of shares of Namibia on our mineral resources is unacceptable. Let me put it that way. Question number 2. Will His Excellency alter the status quo? Will His Excellency alter the status quo so that it's 50-50 or investor pack your bags? Please. Question number 3 is about drought relief. It's not 4, it's 3.
3, yes.
It's about drought relief. We well know that drought relief is unsustainable. And the drought is very visible. It's everywhere. And I'm glad that His Excellency also mentioned, and I have the same sentiment, that Zambia never filed for drought relief. But this year it did, because La Nina, climate change, and these realities are poking on us. Now, the question is His Excellency going to alter the status quo on this drought relief handout to something more sustainable that will alleviate the situation leading to self-sufficiency? And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Honorable Sepep.
Thank you, the Comrade President, my former boss at SWAPO office, if you still remember. I used to make tea for him, but now it's other way around. Congratulations. I was triggered by your mentioning of the hydrocarbons industry and the green hydrogen industry. Yes? We will discuss over a cup of coffee. Now, I want to know hydrocarbons play